Welcome to the Humanities Team podcast with me, Steve Farrell. Humanities Team is an international spiritual movement whose purpose is to communicate and demonstrate the timeless truth that we are all one, with the divine and all life, caring for each other and the world we share, so that people's actions reflect this profound understanding within our generation. We believe that living this truth is essential to resolving the most chronic and acute world challenges and vital to creating a flourishing world of peace, harmony, and happiness. We offer transformative education programs in personal and spiritual development, and we host an annual event called Global Oneness Day. Similar to Earth Day, which galvanized the global environmental movement, Global Oneness Day has become a catalyst for spiritual activism and an integral part of the present-day global oneness movement, which represents a profound new paradigm in human culture. Humanities Team is the only global nonprofit organization working in transformational education. Since we are a nonprofit, there is no focus on growing profits or satisfying shareholders, and 100% of all revenue goes toward our work supporting conscious evolution, planetary awakening, and flourishing at every level of life. If you'd like to learn more about us or want to support our mission directly through donation or volunteering some of your time, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org. And lastly, if you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you'd leave us a review.
Hello and welcome. I'm Claire Zammit. I'm the founder of Feminine Power, and I am the host for today's panel discussion called Women Rising, Creating the Future of Our Lives and the Future of Our World. And this is part of our Global Oneness Day program, which celebrates the unity that is at the center of everything that is. We've all had these glimpses and experiences of oneness at the deeper part of you, me, all of us shares the same source and shares the same destiny. And we're coming together in these dialogues and conversations to look at how we might step forward as co-creators to create a manifest world that reflects the inherent unity, connection, and oneness and wholeness that's at the center and source of everything. So this is what we are here to create, and our specific topic is looking at how women rising can create this interconnected, thriving world. And it's my honor and privilege to be here with extraordinary women leaders who are doing this work of activating and igniting the power and potential of women to shape the future of our world through their books, their workshops, their seminars, their lectures. They are sharing so many tools of wisdom. And I'd love to take a moment just to introduce you to all of them, as well as to share about myself and why I'm convening and hosting this panel today. So it is my great pleasure to welcome Lynne Twist, Christy Whitman, Sage Lavine, and Dr. Jean Houston, who, while not here live, is going to be recorded and added on to the end of this panel. So she's very much here with her energy and her presence, and she's part of this conversation. So I want to take a moment just to introduce our panelists and share a little bit more about them, and then we're going to dive into our first question and discussion on women rising to create the future of our lives and our world. So the brilliant and extraordinary Lynne Twist is the founder of the Soul of Money Institute. She's the best-selling author of The Soul of Money, Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Life. Over the past 40 years, she's worked with over 100,000 people in more than 50 countries. She's been a featured speaker at the United Nations, the State of the World Forum, the Synthesis Dialogues with the Dalai Lama, and Lynne has worked the full spectrum of humanity, from the heights of power and wealth to the poorest of the poor, and has such an incredible perspective, global perspective on women rising. Welcome, Lynne. So great to have you with us.
Thank you, Claire. I'm delighted to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
And welcoming to the conversation the extraordinary Christy Whitman, who is such a presence of healing and love in our world, is such an embodiment of the empowered feminine in everything that she does. I've known Christy now for many years. She is an in-demand life coach, transformational leader, CEO, and founder of the Quantum Success Academy, a 12-month law of attraction coaching certification program. And she's helped thousands of women and men around the world achieve their goals through empowerment seminars, speeches, coaching sessions, and products. So welcome, Christy. It's so amazing to have you with us.
I am truly honored to be asked, and I'm so happy to be here, especially with you, Claire, and Lynn, and of course, my friend Sage, and of course,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christy. You are such a light in our world. It's so nice to see you and to be with you. And I want to introduce my good friend, the amazing powerhouse firecracker. That's what I think of you about when I think of you. Sage Levine, who is the #1 best-selling author of the Hay House book, Women Rocking Business. She's the CEO of Women Rocking Business Training Company. She's reached over 100,000 women. She's just such an incredible empowerer of women. She believes in purposeful entrepreneurship as a way to change the world. And she is empowering women's lives, and she is she's also raising money to empower women. She's raised over $500,000 for women to find their access to even more resources around the world. So such a joy to have you with us, Sage.
This powerhouse panel is so inspiring, and I'm so honored to be here with every single one of you and every single one of you who's watching. Congratulations for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And just to presence Jean, because you're going to meet her at the end of the session today, it is the great honor of a lifetime to call Dr. Jean Houston such a close friend and colleague. She is one of the most extraordinary women leaders in our world today. Deepak Chopra calls her the most significant person alive as it relates to human and social potential. She's regarded as one of the principal founders of the human potential movement, and she is noted for her ability to combine very deep knowledge of culture and history and spirituality with human development. And the thing I love about Jean is she's always learning and growing, and she's like really plugged into truly globally what's happening with the empowerment of women. And just so you have a context for who I am as the host, I'm Claire Zammit. I'm the founder of the Feminine Power courses and professional certifications in coaching, transformational facilitation, and leadership. I coach and mentor women all over the world. And I also am the founder and CEO of Evolving Wisdom, that was recognized by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest 100 growing companies in America. So, being in the trenches of entrepreneurship and creating gives us such an opportunity, I know, for all of us here to be applying the principles that we learn and we teach. And over the last decade, I've been engaging a research project for my doctoral dissertation on women finding their power and rising to create the future. So this topic that we're in together is, I believe, the most important question for us in this time. As we segue into our conversation, there's no, we all know and we all sense the huge and extraordinary moment that this is for women in our world. We also know and sense and feel the critical moment it is for planet Earth, with issues in our environment and climate change, with all of the issues of equality and injustice that we need to address. All of us here as women who are listening, and there may be some wonderful, phenomenal men who are listening to this panel as well, so we welcome you in with us. But there's just a tremendous sense I see for women of, on the one hand, feeling all this power and all of this opportunity. We've never had so much opportunity to rise in our own lives, and wanting to contribute our gifts to the world in the biggest way possible we can. And yet there's a gap. There's like a power paradox. On the one hand, we're more powerful than ever before. On the other hand, we're held back still by not just issues in society, but inner glass ceilings, barriers within ourselves. And so, there's a sense that women hold the key to, the women's leadership. Women rising hold such a huge key to creating the future on planet Earth. Melinda Gates, in her book this year that really, had a huge impact called The Moment of Lift, says, if you want to lift up humanity, empower women. It's the most comprehensive, pervasive, high-leverage investment that you can make in human beings. And there's a sense that we see that when women become powerful, whether it's as entrepreneurs or in our own personal lives around the world, when women become empowered, we lift everybody else up. So this is such a key for creating the future. But what about the gap? That's what I want to create a space for us to go into. How do we rise? How do we rise into this possibility that we feel and we sense is here for women at this critical moment? So I would love to invite you to start, Lynne, just in terms of what do you see as the big opportunity for women, and what do you see as in our way to be able to fully step into it?
Well, wonderful question and wonderful framing for this conversation. I'll just say that I call this century the Sophia century, the century when women will take our rightful role in co-equal partnership with men and the whole world will come into balance. And I think that context is a really important context for us to live into. I've told this prophecy many times, but there's a Cherokee prophecy that says the 21st century, first century of the third millennium, will be the time when the bird of humanity comes into balance. And they say the bird of humanity has two great wings, a male wing and a female wing. And the male wing has been extended for years, for centuries, and the female wing has not been fully extended. So the male wing, in order to keep the bird of humanity afloat, has become overdeveloped, overmuscular, and in fact, to keep the bird of humanity afloat has become violent. And the bird of humanity thus has been flying in circles for hundreds of years. And the prophecy says in the 21st century, the female wing in all of us, in men and women, will fully extend or express itself. And the male wing in all of us will begin to relax, and the bird of humanity will soar rather than fly in circles. And I tell that prophecy wherever I can because I think it doesn't make anybody wrong. It just calls us to rise, all of us, to rise in our femininity, in our yin energy, relaxing that masculine part of ourselves a little bit and giving more room for the expression of the feminine. And so I say that's women rising, and it is the femininity, the feminine power, the divine feminine rising in all of us and in the world. And I think every single human being on this planet has that opportunity, has that job. It's not just for some of us. It's for all of us. It's a space. It's a context. It's a field. It's an energy. It's a privilege. It's an opportunity.
And so what's in the way that you see? What's the kind of even the most critical thing for us to be able to expand or grow beyond, to step into fulfilling that prophecy?
Well, when we are in a larger context, like the context I just spoke about, we rise to the content, which is us, rises to meet it. When we get petty, when we get small, when we start to doubt ourselves, which women still do, and when we are not in touch with the privilege and opportunity of participating in something larger than our own life starring us, when you have a larger context, and when you have a larger frame for your life, then all the petty distractions and the doubts and the am I good enough, or am I tall enough, or am I thin enough, or all those kind of silly conversations start to show up as irrelevant, start to show up as petty and small, rather than who you really are. So one of the things that I think is important for women is to realize how much their life matters, how every decision and choice they make impacts the future of life for the next 1,000 years. For me, standing in a bigger sense of who I am lets me drop my pettiness, keeps me from dwelling in that gap you're talking about, and to actually realize that I have not only a responsibility but a calling, because I'm born at this time in history. And that's not an accident, I believe. That anyone alive today, the people listening to this call, the women and men listening to this call, but primarily the women, you're alive at a time when you're being called beyond the small understanding of your own life. But you are in a time in history when environmental sustainability depends on the role that women can play. Peace on this planet depends on the role that women can play. Ending hunger depends on the role that women can play. Every major issue on this planet now that we're all facing, the kind of key intervention disruption that moves the dial and moves those issues forward is the participation, the wholehearted participation and leadership of women. And that's everybody. Mm-hmm. And so to dive into the great gap that you're talking about in a way that you rise out of it in service of something larger than your own life, I think is the way through for everybody.
That's so powerful, Lynne. And I've heard you say this, and this is one of my favorite quotes of yours, and that is that we have the opportunity to have the most meaningful lives that any people or women have ever had in history.
Yes, that's true. And
that really speaks to, you know, when we're in too small a context, these things hold us back, and those things are unsolvable at that level. And how we rise is to expand and have a much larger perspective on who we are and why we're here and why our life matters. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Steve, what do you see about this? Just the big and extraordinary opportunity both for women in their own personal lives to rise, as well as to contribute and co-create the future. And what's in the way? The most significant things that you see are in the way that we need to break through and break free from to step forth into this potential.
Well, thanks for the question, Claire. And Lynne, I got to say that was that image of that masculine and that the wing of the feminine is so beautiful. It's like what I co-wrote in Taming Your Alpha Bitch. It's really having the masculine that women saw, what is the power? And so we looked at the male way of being in power. And so a lot of women are finding themselves trying to be so masculine and trying to power over or compete or, you know, do drama and do bullying and things like that it just doesn't work anymore. And it's painful to our female psyche. And so it is time for more of that deeper connection and a more expansion of oneness and that more returning truly back to an energy of love. And so for me, it's all about becoming your own energy master. And when we understand that our thoughts, that our beliefs, that our perspective, the words that we say, the actions that we take, everything is coming from a space of the energy. And if we're consistently finding ourselves, you know, beating our head up against a wall, there's an energy there. And when we can understand that whether the outpicturing looks like a lack of money or a lack of support or the lack of relationships, the things that matter to us in our human existence, then we can understand that we're not powerless to change these things, but it's that we have to look at things a different way. And when you look at it from that connection, I like to say that there's the third eye is like a faith portal, and that we always have faith in something, either what we don't want or what we do want. And when we can start opening up to really that the universe has your back and that there is an abundance of support and love and possibilities and solutions and all the things that we're looking for, and open up that portal to look for the things that we want to experience, that energy is like the opening, that doorway to your divine self, where that energy can flow in. And then you feel more of a strength. And it's not a power over, power through, power under kind of thing. It's just a strength and a stability. And with that then comes that inner wisdom. That inner wisdom is beyond rationale. It's beyond conscious, logical, linear type of thinking. There's just a knowingness. And when that happens, it's like the heart center this transmutation station of all energy. When we open it up, all the, like Lynne was talking about, the pettiness, the doubts, the worry, all that stuff it rises up into a higher level of energy and consciousness. But it's really about understanding that we have to master our own energy, and that starts with our mind. And where are we putting our faith?
Well, and what's in the way of us doing that? Like, what holds us back from being able to, truly step into that?
The conditioning of our past, the things that we've been, we are all planted in a little garden, our conditions and our circumstances, what we learned, everything that we know ourselves to be, those are the things that we identify ourselves with. And when you really think about it from a quantum physics perspective, we're who we know ourselves to be, the age that we're at, all the programming, all the things that we've said about ourselves, all the things other people have said about us, all the perceived mistakes, all the growth that we've had is only 4% of who we really are. That 96% is energy, it's source, it's divine self. And so when we can rise above those limitations and the I am stupid, I am lazy, I'm not enough, I don't have enough, I need something else to make me better, so I will start looking outside of myself. It's those things that need to be shifted. And so it is starting with, what do you say? The words that you say, watching your words about even yourself, what you say to yourself about yourself. If you start shifting that and telling yourself how fabulous you are and that you're infinitely loved, and really the truth of what exists, like Lynne was saying, it's like you're enough because you're here, and there's no mistake why you're here. The parents might have said, oh, you were an oops, or maybe you didn't feel you were loved, or there was conditionings around your childhood, or maybe you had, parents that weren't there, or you didn't receive the love that you wanted. But know this, you are deeply and infinitely loved by the one that brought you to the party, and now's the time to dance.
Mm-hmm. Powerful. So there's all this power that's right here, all the things that we feel and sense that are in potential. And what holds us back is that we're energizing and identifying with these stories that about our powerlessness, about our worthlessness, about all of those things. So it's like that we got to break through to be able to step forth and rise in this moment.
Yeah. And nobody else can do it. We have our own stories. So it's us choosing, do we want to keep with the old stories, or do we want to tell a new one?
Yeah.
Do we want to keep saying the same stuff to ourselves about how we can't make something happen or do something? Or do we want to tell ourselves why we can and how possible it is? But all of that, our feelings, our thoughts, what we say, or the actions we take, it's not depending on anybody else. It's us. And that's what's exciting.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sage, what can you add in here? So what's the big opportunity? I know you work specifically with women who are entrepreneurs, who are stepping forth to create their own businesses. What's the big opportunity that you see for women? And what do you see as really holding women back from really stepping forth fully into all of the extraordinary possibilities that are here for us?
I love this question. Thank you for this question. There's never been a better time to be a woman leader. Really, truly. There's never been a better time. Women are starting businesses over the last 15 years, 1.5 times faster than men. Harvard recently did a study that women go further when they go together. They studied groups of all men, groups of all women, and mixed groups. And it was the groups of all women that went the furthest. Women have such an opportunity in front of us, and yet there's still these problems that we're solving, right? We're still making 79 cents on the dollar. And even though we're starting more than 1,200 new businesses a day, Forbes magazine says we're failing faster. Our businesses are failing faster than men's. And so the opportunity is for us to start doing it our way. I've been studying the way women do business for 2 decades. And what I found is that when women try to do business the old way, in a way that's not native to them, we don't succeed as much as when we actually start to bring our new ideas and our new ways of being to the table, which is to do business in a way that's in alignment with women's values, right? To bring leadership to the world in a way that's in alignment with who we truly are, right? To bring leadership in a way that's more about collaboration rather than competition. It's more about empowerment rather than power over. It's more about resource sharing rather than resource extraction. And just like you were saying, Claire, when we do that, we have this opportunity to solve the world's most pressing problems. Now, one of the things that's been true on my personal journey is I've always asked myself the question, like, is bigger always better? And I feel like the feminine in all of us, the feminine in women and the feminine in men, innately has an answer to that question. What is sustainable for our planet, right? I actually almost faced burnout a few years ago. I was really burning out. My company had grown so fast. I went from being a school teacher making $28,000 a year to running a multi-million-dollar company in like 18 months. And thank God, thank the goddess for my friend Lynne Twist, who invited me to come to Ecuador with her. And we had raised a bunch of money for a group of women in the rainforest, helping them protect their jungle home from oil companies, right? So for 2 weeks, I go unplugged, 500 miles past where all the roads end into the middle of the jungle. And I'm asking this question, is bigger always better? And it was the answer that came from the women in the rainforest that really changed my life. They actually blessed me while I was down there with a story that was an opportunity to bring back to the women that I work with. And the story is that in the indigenous cultures, there's masculine roles and feminine roles, right? The feminine role is to create and to make babies. And in the Achuar culture, it's to make chicha, which is their main carbohydrate drink. And the masculine role is to hunt and to be a warrior and to bring home fish for protein and cut down trees for shelter. And what they wanted us to know, what the women in the indigenous culture wanted us to know, is that women have one more role. And that is, it's the women's job to stand up and say enough. When the men have cut down enough trees, it's the women's job to eyeball, that'll build the shelters that we need. Don't cut down any more trees. When the men have brought home fish for protein, it's the women's job to say that will feed the village. Don't kill any more fish. And when the Achuar people see pictures of the West, there's only one question that they have. And that is, why haven't the women stood up and said, enough? I remember hearing that story and I had tears in my eyes, and I realized it wasn't just about me and what I was doing and the burnout. It was about the feminine's built to create, but it's also our job to know what's sustainable. We have an innate wisdom around what is truly right for this planet. How do we create and bring solutions in a way that honors all beings? And I went back from that trip and I went to town on my business. I brought more joy and more purposefulness than ever before. And when I got tired at the end of the day, I found ways to shut it off so that I could just go be a woman in the world and recharge my batteries. And I thank the women leaders that have touched me in my journey so much. We aren't doing this alone. We can't do this alone, right? It's this opportunity for collaboration and sustainability. I really believe that's at our fingertips.
Powerful. I love that. And so much. I love this. I'm just feeling it and integrating like that. Enough. Why haven't the women said it's enough? Well, and I think what it speaks to, just in hearing what everyone shared, is just the tremendous opportunity that we have for global influence in shaping the future of humanity. I think so many of the conversations in the world about women and power are missing a really important piece. And that is, like, the story is about kind of what is and how it is and how it's been and who else is coming to create the future and renegotiate all of those agreements and renegotiate our place in culture and society other than us. And so, the thing that I've really found in my own work in terms of, we all feel, I've worked with so many women from all corners of the globe, and every single woman I meet is feeling a much bigger potential for her life, but she can't necessarily see how to get there. And what I've seen is in our way is that we can't step into the possibility of who we are inside the same system of power and way of creating that's got us here. The impulse that women are feeling now, it's an impulse to self-actualize and to participate in social transformation. It's not just to achieve success in traditional sense. I've done this exercise of helping women connect with their deeper desires, and probably like 40,000 women later, there's not one who connects to her deeper desires who wants more stuff or more status, as nice as those things are to have. We all, at our deepest level, are feeling a call to not just be successful, but to become what is in potential. We don't just want to be rich or successful. We want to be like the caterpillar. We want to become the butterfly. We want to embody our higher potentials. And that we need a different kind of power that is relational, that is connected, that enables us to grow, to evolve, to express. And I think that's what we're really speaking to in terms of the breakthrough, stepping into a larger context. That is absolutely huge. Letting go of these shame-based stories, stepping out of lack, stepping out of isolation. These are all the findings in my own research. So how do we rise? This is what's here, and this is what's true. And I'd love to just open it up to, what's the breakthrough? What have you seen in your own life? And maybe just, the biggest wisdom that you can share for women to be able to let go of these things that are holding us back and rise in our own lives and to step forward into the destiny that's calling us, which is to become the creators of the future of our world. Whoever feels moved to start.
Well, I'll go. I feel that it's really about detaching from the stuff. It's like the having the nice car and having the house and all that kind of stuff. It's the hierarchy of needs, right? It's do I have food in my belly? Do I have a place to rest my head at night? Of course. But what you're talking about is an essence, because we so assign, if I just have the man, if I have this, if I have a more successful business, if I make more money, then I'm going to feel this way. And it's like the essence and the energy that pulsates through you, that's breathing you, already has the connection to all that you want and all that can sustain you and all that will fulfill you. And so if you're wanting to feel more connected to pure potentiality and to purpose, connect first to that, because then that starts to pulsate and starts to create and gives you ideas and tells you what actions to take and moves you in a direction where you're experiencing and living from that essence that you really truly are wanting, that is not in the cars and the money and all these things. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and material things are awesome. I'm a girl that loves a pretty pair of shoes, but I'm not attached to my own sense of esteem based on the shoes I wear, right? And it's more about what can I contribute. And when I'm in a place of feeling like I'm in that place of alignment and I'm in service, things come back tenfold anyway. But it's first starting with the essence of what is it that you're wanting, and finding that passion, that purpose, really connecting with that alignment, with that alignment of who you really are and why you're really here. And that first starts with knowing that you're infinitely loved and feeling that love for yourself.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I would love to add that the two things I see takes a lot of women leaders out of the game are overwhelm and isolation. So in my experience, we have to become masterful at not getting caught in those two things that can take us out so that we can bring these amazing gifts to the planet that Christy's talking about. So in order to really get to the front side of overwhelm or isolation or the spinning out, there's so many things we could be doing. We're very hard on ourselves, right? We cannot be sheroes. We cannot be super women every single day, right? Now is not the time of I, it's the time of we. So I believe the opportunity that's in front of us is for us to truly come together like we're doing here. Thank you so much for bringing us together, Claire. There's so much that we can do when we link arms and we make commitments to each other that I have your back, I have your sides, I have your front. Whether you fall on your face, like in our women's entrepreneurial community, we have this saying that says, whether you fall on your face or whether you end up on Oprah, I love you, I'll be with you, because we have fear at both ends of the spectrum. And just like Christy's saying, to really get plugged in to this energy of service. You know, there's no better feeling on the planet to be here for our fellow humans. Because when we think we're doing it alone, when we think it's just about us and our basic needs, we have this upper ceiling that we run into over and over and over again. One of the things I keep looking at with my clients is the difference between being independent, because so many of us are trying so hard to be so independent. You know, if we're not being independent, then we'll fall into this codependency where it's like, somebody rescue me, somebody, you know, discover me so I don't have to do this alone. I don't want to have to get my gifts out into the world all by myself, right? But there's this middle ground of interdependence. And that's what I believe we have the opportunity to become experts at in this incarnation of women and men on the planet who are fully engaging our more collaborative, more purposeful ways to bring solutions that we can truly be interdependent, that we really truly do ask for the support before we really need it. And that as women, we honor our needs as like an innate well of resources inside of us, that we don't forego taking care of ourselves, that we take care of ourselves first, that we realize our needs and giving ourselves what we need and asking for support and being vulnerable and reaching out. You know, I've called Claire in tears a couple of times. I've reached out to Lynne. I've reached out to Christy. None of us are doing this alone. You know, we are stronger and we're better together, and we can go so much further when we surrender to that.
Thank you, Sage. My power statement is, I am not Wonder Woman. I am a mere mortal who needs rest, sleep, support, who can't solve problems by myself.
I get to be Wonder Woman when I surround myself with other Wonder Women.
But it's true, right? Because there's a pressure. There's some idea, and I think I love what you're saying, because I think, you know, so many people see women who are leaders, who are successful, who are running really successful businesses or having a huge influence or impact in the world. And like, that is totally what's happening behind the scenes, you know? So I love that. Thank you. Lynne.
First of all, I love hearing you talk, Sage, about the rainforest and reminding all of us about the teachings from Indigenous people, particularly Indigenous women.
You've been such a teacher to me, Lynne.
Oh, thank you. Well, just to build on what you both, Christy and Sage and Claire, have said, one of the great teachings of Pachamama Alliance, which is another organization that I'm involved with and co-founded, is that Indigenous people do not individuate the way we do. They don't even have a word for I or me in their languages. No Indigenous languages have a word for I or me, only we and us. And that's culture lives in language. And so this idea of individuating, we individuate almost at the expense of everybody else. And if we lift up the community that is sisterhood, I'm going to say sisterhood, because when women actually do support each other, like really, without gossip, without backbiting, without betrayal, without unhealthy competition, we are unstoppable. And when we can turn this is something that I love to practice myself. When I find myself in a complaint or something that would border on gossip about something or someone, if I turn that into a commitment, if I move it from complaint to commitment, then I get my power back. That's really moving from victim to source. I work on global warming, and one of the beautiful things about global warming, and I know it's a horrible thing on this planet, and we're terrified about it, and we don't know what to do. But if you think about it as it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. It's happening for us. It's the feedback from the mother. It's the biggest, most clear, most uncompromised feedback from the mother that we've ever had. And if we can receive that feedback as it's happening for us, it is the catalyzing power of the transformation, I say, of women. Because it's the mother speaking to us. It's the great mother. Mm-hmm. And one of the cutting edge conversations now on the planet with global warming, with reversing global warming, which is possible, with stopping these fires, horrible fires in the Amazon, which obviously we all know about, with finding our center in ourselves, is this phrase called regeneration. Regeneration, restoration, renew, resource, regenerate, recreate, revisit, respect, which means respectate, re-see. We're in a time of regeneration and restoration, and it speaks to the broad issues of our time, but it also speaks to what Sage and Christy were talking about. We were talking about, Claire, regenerating ourselves all the time. Mm-hmm. Who's responsible for that? We are. I am. I'm responsible for regenerating my own energy, regenerating my own commitment, resourcing my own power, reclaiming who I am. And when I can't find that, I'm going to call Sage. I'm going to call you, Claire. I'm going to call Christy now, particularly after this, and draw on the sisterhood, the beauty of the sisterhood, the upliftment of the sisterhood, the water, the nourishment, the food of the sisterhood, and manage my own self as best I can. But when I can't, I know where to go, because the sisterhood will always lift me up. And so I think building that kind of collaboration, that kind of energetic field that is sourced by the Divine Mother and by Mother Nature. It is a feminine energy. It is a restorative energy. It is a nourishment, and it's in all of us. It's available every moment of every day.
Powerful. So just to begin completing our time together today, we just have a few minutes left, just bringing all of these threads together. So the big opportunity and the possibility we feel in our clearest moments, not just for our life, but the role that we're being called to play to create the future, all of that is real. All of that's real. That is absolutely real. Your life matters, your calling matters, your destiny matters, and not just for your own sense of fulfillment, but really, we can't create the future without your voice, without your vision, without you fully actualized and expressed. So to do that, we need to step out of identifying with a smaller story of who we are. We need to step forth as creators. We need to create a sisterhood. And I really love this idea. I've been working with about feminine power and a new kind of power, is to think of power as a verb as opposed to a noun. That a feminine kind of power is something that is in motion. It's the energy of creativity. We are powering through us. We are powering each other. We are powering as we're creating and shaping the future. And that what we are here and being called forth to is to grow and expand. It's not just to, for external circumstances are going to line up, that are going to have us be in the life and the future of our world. It's something that can only be created through us. We sense potentials of who we are. We step forth and we fall on our face sometimes, and they don't work out, and then we kind of doubt ourselves. But that's actually the process of growth and learning. We have to get back up. We have to keep going. It's a process like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly of growth into the future. And so if we can trust in the value of who we are, trust ourselves, trust each other, and begin to see us as co-creators in the great work, we will step forth and rise in the time that we're in. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Farrell, the Executive Director for Humanities Team. And next, you're going to hear from Jean Houston, who will now be coming into the Women Rising panel. She was introduced, as you know, earlier by the panel host, Claire Zammit. So welcome, Jean Houston, to Global Oneness Day. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so very much. I love being here. These are the times, and we are the people. We're living in the most critical moment of human history, because what we do or do not do makes a difference as to whether we evolve or perish. So let's evolve together.
All right, the table is set. Let's jump right in, Jean. Beautiful, thank you. So Jean, What do you see as the big opportunity for women in these troubled times? And what do you see as the way for women to fully step into this opportunity?
Well, I think it is certainly important that for a new world to be born, we have to bring a new mind to bear. But in order to do this, we require another order of human abilities, one that necessitates not only a more comprehensive understanding of our place and responsibility in this world and time, but learning to really tap into the depths and dimensions of what we contain. Critical to this is the rich mind style of women. Something that has been gestating in the womb of preparatory time below these many millennia. And it is a tremendous change in how we think, how we do things, and the emphasis here being on process rather than on product, on making things cohere, develop, grow. The relationships between people and things becoming much more important than final outcome. The world within becoming as important as the world without. And clearly we're living in a time in which it seems that our very nature is in transition. And I think the scope of changes is calling forth potentials, patterns that as far as we know have never been needed before. And these are women's ways of knowing, with the emphasis on process rather than product, on relationships, on inner space being as important as outer space, the inner ways. These are women's ways. And what I am finding is that it is women's ways of knowing that may hold the key to the continuation of the human race. I've been around the world. I've worked in 109 countries, and everywhere I go now, I find that it is women working together, creating all kinds of groups of interchange, of exploration. This is something that is, as far as we know, that is unique in human history. And so this is where I live now, and this is what I find, that women are challenging the most sexist institutions, from the medical establishments to business institutions, and at long last, their full creativity is being set free. And women are critical to this. Women hold the mother mind, a mind that is not primarily linear, sequential, objective, but is rather circular, empathic, filled with stories. It's narrative. And in such a mind, solutions seem to arise from the depths and unfolding of understanding. As I said, the inward will having as much value as the outward. And because its approach is systemic, interrelated rather than systematic, because it sees things in constellations rather than in discrete and disconnected facts. It is the feminine mind view is supremely concerned with networking, with interrelationships, with the networking of the individual with the larger social organism. And this is most important as we try to create a planetary society with a deepening of individual cultures. And whatever one wakes up to, it seems to me that a new species, a kind of what I refer to as speciation, is being cooked in the alembic of fusions between people. I mean, the membranes between cultures, between worlds, between old and new ways of being, is something that's happening. A strange multicultural mitosis, and a stranger spawn. And it is not merely cultural fusion, it's a joining together of geographies of mind and body that had never been touched before. I mean, weaving synapses and what should we say, sensibilities to create people who are fused into a kind of new world mind with its unlimited treasures, its empowering capacities. This is what's happening. And this quickening change, this cultural mitosis, this global mind field is happening. I mean, until now we've been addicted to our separations, believing that the divisions that we feel between races, countries, religions, even between ourselves and nature cannot be bridged. And yet in this time of looming ecological catastrophe, the underlying commonality of our planetary future is inescapable. This worldwide linking of everything. Now you'll say, but Jean, this isn't happening, but indeed it is. You know, as a student of history, I find that you always have a time of regression before you have the emergence of a new order of being. And that's where I believe we are. I think we are moving, in spite of present regression, we're moving into a planetary civilization with high individuation of cultures. And what I find happening around the world is women's conferences, often emotional, spiritual, as well as dealing with social issues. All these sisterhood conferences, Million Women's Circles, the gathering of women. This is the great happening which few traditional organizations are doing. And so I feel very positive about these things. It's a new kind of reality that is coming into time, as important as when we step, depending on the hunt, you know, and settle down to agriculture and civilization. And I think that as women exercise their relationship and building skills with this new technology, it is having a tremendous effect in worldwide communications. I see, for example, what happens in Facebook. I mean, in Twitters, people, women especially, interweaving, exploring. I think with women, there's the discovery of new styles of interpersonal connection, new ways of being in community, given a global society. And I think the movement seems to be away from the egocentric and the ethnocentric to the world-centric, a fundamental change in the nature of civilization, compelling a passage beyond the mindset and institutions of millennia. I've attended many of these meetings around the world, and I am astonished that of the moral and ethical growth toward empathy between individuals and nations that honors the golden rule of human interchange. It is a renaissance of spirit, and it's filled with examples of women leaders rising to network, innovate, challenge, scold, make things happen. And it is even doing this in even some of the most recalcitrant and patriarchal of institutions. Yes, women get trashed. Yes, they become the screens for the most outrageous projections, but somehow, for the most part, they carry on, taking courage from the knowledge that they are part of the biggest change of all, from which there is no turning back. They are social artists. The story is changing.
So, boy, beautiful, Gina. I'm sure that there are a lot of women and men that are nodding their head in agreement here.
Yeah.
So in about 3 minutes, what are the obstacles? What are the challenges? What are the things that are preventing women from just stepping fully into what you just described?
Well, I think that as the obstacle arises, women get, if anything, more full of a kind of transcendent sense of the rightness of their moving forward. I mean, years ago, Margaret Mead took me to a place where it was a corporation where they had a new woman vice president. And I watched her work, and I watched her talk deeply to people, not just about the quarterly report that they had to get out, but about what was happening in their mind, their inner culture, what was bothering them, what was pulling them forward. And Margaret said, Jane, watch, look how women are braiding their work with not only what had to be done in this particular corporation, but more importantly, what was happening, what was emerging in their life, in their sensibility, in their feelings, and with a kind of lure of becoming for both their self and as well as society. And in fact, this is what was happening. Now, some of it may look unseen, but it is an enormous growth and happening worldwide. I mean, look at my friend Mary Ann, who I've known for 35 years, running for president, but running for president from a perspective of really the deepening of the self, of new orders of loving and caring, and at the same time, brilliant ideas, like Elizabeth Warren, brilliant ideas of how to bring forth a new society. And well, yes, it is emergence through emergency, but it is much, much more. I mean, I am astonished. I am exhilarated. I'm experiencing the stage of the reinvention of who we are, how we are. It is a brand new story coming into time. And it will brook no whiny naysaying. It will not allow for old forms and formulas. It is the very cusp of radical creativity. And that's why I am positive. I feel
and as you mentioned, there are women like yourself, Jean, and Marianne Williamson, Elizabeth Warren, others that are out doing it. So it's clearly our time, and women rising, hooray, a huge role to play. Jean, thank you so much for being part of a Global Oneness Day with us in the Women Rising program. Thank you. Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Thank you so much for your time today, for your wisdom. And I would love to just close by inviting you to share what you're excited about next and any final words of wisdom and where people can get in touch with you to find out more about your work.
You can head over to womenrockingbusiness.com to get more resources to help you start your business as a woman leader. And that is at www.womenrockingbusiness.com. You can also check me out on TEDx. I'm Sage Lavine. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you so much, every single one of you, for being here.
Thank you, Sage.
Thank you so much. And you could reach me at christywhitman.com, or I have a series. It's a free series. It's watchyourwords.com that will help you really eliminate those negative words that we want out of those limiting words and what to switch instead. And so you can go to watchyourwords.com. And I'm really grateful to be invited here, and I'm really honored to be part of this sisterhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christy. Thank you. Lynn.
You can go to soulofmoney.org to get involved with any of our coaching or online courses or in-person courses, and also Pachamama, Pachamama, Pachamama means Mother Earth, PachamamaAlliance.org or Pachamama.org to learn about our work in the rainforest and bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on this planet. And then finally, Nobel Women's Initiative. I work with the Nobel Women Peace Prize laureates, and you can go to Nobel Women's Initiative or NWI.org to learn about that. And thank you so much for this conversation, for your commitment, Claire, and everybody, anyone who would be on this call, part of this. is someone I want to thank and bow to, because this is the conversation that wants to happen on this planet. And thank you for being part of it. And thank you for including me.
Thank you so much, Lynne. Well, it's been an absolute honor, and I want to encourage everybody to check out these amazing free resources these women have been working for decades and give away generously. And you can join me at femininepower.com. I have a free Feminine Power training. There's so much more I would want to share with you about how to awaken this feminine system of power, and there's a free training there, femininepower.com. And I'm just so moved and inspired by the conversation today, and I would love to just invite us to just energetically close by linking arms together, and just linking arms with all the women who are here, just energetically, and feeling the energy of this sisterhood, where we are linking arms, a woman to the left of us, linking arms of women to the right of us, knowing that in our connection to ourselves and our inner resources and our wisdom and our creativity, in our connection to the energy and intelligence of life, all of life organizing around our full becoming and participation and contribution. And in this field of connection as co-creators together, we have the power to rise in our own lives and step forth and create the future together. Rise at this critical moment in our human history to step forth with our voice, our vision, and values and shape the future. And together we say yes and thank you, and so it is, and so it shall be. Thank you so much. Such an honor to be with you, and so great to be with you all here at Global Oneness Day. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
If you'd like to receive all of our new podcast episodes, please click on the subscribe button. To find out more about Humanities Team transformational education programs and about how you can help support our mission, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org, where you can also sign up for our email list so we can let you know about our free online events and other news about what we're up to each week. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review. Thank you.